the live stream as well. Yes, we're streaming live up on YouTube. Just search for a channel. It's Smooth 981. And you can even post the comments underneath the live stream. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Zibby. Good morning to all our listeners, YouTube viewers, and of course, our special guest, of course, from Stanbic IBTC.
All right, so our special guest is Ademilola Aluko. She's the head relationship management, custody, and investor services at Stanbic IBTC Bank. Good morning, Ademilola, and welcome to Business Express.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Rotus. Good morning. Excited to be
All
here.
right. Awesome. So we're talking about Nigeria Air Takeoff suffering a setback in court and Jet Management Office exceeding the borrowing target by 58%.
Yes, we'll start with the Aviation Matters. So the airline operators of Nigeria, they are suing the federal government in order to stop the national carrier from, quote unquote, taking off. And the reason why they're doing so is that they're worried about predatory pricing, where they feel that, I think the partner is supposed to be Ethiopian Air that they're bringing in. And essentially, if they are allowed to do that, they are worried that it will bring in predatory pricing and undercut them with lower prices for flights, which, according to them, will be really tough for the market. Because as you've noticed, diesel has jumped by 300% It has affected Jet A1 fuel, which is is part of their cost structure, and it has made things very expensive. You remember, I think it was before the end, towards the latter half of the, I think second half of the year, right, where fuel ticket prices spiked because they had to raise ticket prices in order to break even and remain profitable. So, not many people have supported this national carrier idea. Hadi Sirika, the Minister of Finance, he's just continued to push and push and push. It's almost like it's a personal project for him, where he absolutely wants this airline to take. So there was a forum last week or so where he said that it was going to take off before May 29th, conveniently before they hand over to a new administration. So he wants to just get this airline going, dump it on the next administration, and then sail off into the sunset. But the operators, the domestic operators, are saying no. So they've taken them to court. And so yesterday, the judge said he will rule on the matter on April the 25th. So we will find out the fates of Nigeria Air, the fate of the airline operators of Nigeria that are bringing the case forward. We'll find that out April 25th. That's D-Day.
All right, so much to look forward to.
Sure.
All right, so speaking about the Debt Management Office and exceeding the borrowing target, Ademilola, what's the situation on that?
Well, all these efforts by the Debt Management Office is really aimed at raising funds for the implementation of the federal government's 2023 budget. So currently government earnings are below aggregate spending, and these sums are basically to be used to offset that deficit. So far, they've raised about 1.9 trillion for the government, and like you said, it's 58% more than their initial plan. In March, it was 360 billion that they offered, eventually raising about 563 billion, right? In February, they recorded 100% year-on-year growth in how much it raised, 724.9 billion in total. So, these securities, these bonds are issued across various maturities, and currently it's mainly the domestic institutional investors that are taking this up. They are the core buyers. And I know one of the goals of the Debt Management Office is to also see how you can to tempt back the foreign portfolio investors that continue to operate or remain outside of the market due to the various FX rates and liquidity challenges that we are facing, right? So I also like to see things like this in terms of opportunity for domestic investor growth, not only institutional domestic investors, but also individuals as well. It's a very good opportunity. There's a lot of securities that can be invested through the secondary market And the DMO is also raising funds via Treasury Bills and also on the retail side, the federal government savings fund.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Anyway, my own is that all this money that they're raising, it has to be paid back. So you know, Nigeria's debts as of September 2022 is 44 trillion naira. That's total debt. And then you've got ways and means debt for the federal government owes the CBN. That's another 22 or 23 trillion. So that's about 66, 67 trillion naira right there that's being owed. So, you know, good luck to the government in terms of it. There's also the worry of crowding out the private sector if the government continues to borrow this much. And I think the yields aren't even that. The last, what is it now? Treasury bill auction. Ademilola, how that was yesterday, right?
Yeah,
I think stock rate, yeah. Well, how was that? Stock rates increased, yeah?
Yes, they increased from the 91-day stop rate increased from 2.55% to 6%. 182-day stop rate went from 5% to 8%, and for the 364-day stop rate, it's increased from 9.5 to about 14.7. So yeah, it basically increased, basically meaning better returns for investors who take on this particular issuances.
It's better. It's still under inflation though. Inflation is 21.91%. So your real rate of return is negative. So what about other investment options that are out there? What opportunities are out there for people to put their money in?
Well, earlier this month, right, the National Bureau of Stats released their consumer price index reports for February, right? And like you said, inflation is increased by about 21.9% year on year. Right, and because of this, it's very important that very important that you keep idle funds, because inflation reduces the purchasing power of money. So even though the rates of the investments that you are seeing currently might not be up to inflation, you're still better off, keeping your money in those investments just to offset, basically that, to bridge that inflation gap. So there are a number of securities that are currently available. Can do in the fixed income markets. You have the Treasury bills, you have the bonds, you have the federal government bonds, there are commercial papers. There are quite a number of these instruments available. But what I would typically advise clients is, before you invest, due diligence cannot be overemphasized. You need to do due diligence on the organization, the firm that you want to invest through, you want to partner with. You need to also do due diligence on the securities. Various securities have their different risk profiles. You need to understand the returns on the investments to see how that suits you, right, before you go in those investments. I have to also mention here, that Stanbic IBTC is a full service financial group, and we are able to partner with both institutional, local, individual, local, and foreign investors through that journey from investment, at the point of investment, to post-trade investment services via our custody offerings.
Great stuff. So if anybody has any, questions as to getting into these things, they should definitely reach out to Stanbic. So what's the mood like with your clients? I mean, are they optimistic about investing in Nigeria? As far as this year is concerned, I know the elections have now passed. Yeah. Are you more optimistic about what are your clients saying? What kind of conversations are you guys having?
Well, the conversations have mainly been about, from the beginning of the year, is what's going on with FX. When are we going to see a bit more liquidity? And, to the elections, what are the expectations? Who do you think would win? And if Tinubu wins, what do you think the expectation would be? And it's basically watch and see. They are basically just watching and waiting. So barring the FX challenges, this is the same cycle that we go through every election, right? They pull out just before the elections. They watch to see that everything goes smoothly. And once that handover process is done, we see them start to come back in. It's a peculiar case currently because of the FX challenges. So they're just really hopeful. A lot of, talking to the trading side of the clients that we service, they are quite excited. They really want to come back, but the the risk that currently obtains in Nigeria because of the FX liquidity challenge is really holding back. So it's watch and see. Let's see what happens. And they're quite optimistic that things go well so that, we could, and as well as we are as well, so we could see them coming back into the market.
Great stuff. I know that, if we have to get the Dangote refinery going as quickly as possible, because then we'll save a lot of all the FX that we're spending importing fuel, and then we'll see what happens with the fuel subsidies matter, whether that's going to be removed once the new government is in. All right, so at least that's pretty positive as far as investment outlook. I do want to quickly jump back to this Nigeria Air situation, just really quickly. If the government, if the court rules in favor of the government and Nigeria Air does, take off, we've seen a number of airlines, like I think yesterday or the day before, Kenya Airways reported its biggest loss in history. So we just have to be careful and make sure that, things work out. I mean, for national pride, it'd be nice to have a national airline, but I don't know. This, what do you think? I don't know about this new environment for national carriers.
Well, I agree. I think, the size of Nigeria, the size of our nation, our population, the fact that we pride ourselves as being the giant of Africa, right? And, look at the mobility of Nigerians. We are well traveled, right? And, if you look at the tourism potential that the nation has, I think all of these are sufficient grounds to argue for a national carrier. I think it would be very, very, very good for the nation. It confers prestige, and it's also a way that we could raise revenue if done correctly. You mentioned the Kenyan Airways issue, and I think what we need to do is to take lessons from that. Like you mentioned earlier, one of the fears of the AON, the Airline Operators of Nigeria, is unhealthy competition and price wars. The government has a lot of work to do in allaying those fears, right? They need to ensure that pricing is in line with market condition and the cost realistically, right? And then one thing that is also very, very key is to ensure proper management, right? And efficient operations. There has to be, that cannot be compromised on at all. And I think maybe outsourcing the running of the organization to a reputable firm would also be good. So those are the things I think we just need to really take lessons from it. It's a good thing. I think it's good for Nigeria, but we just need to ensure that it's done the right way.
All right. Thank you so much for that. We've got a message, and this is from Benga. He says Nigerian leaders like to double down on bad ideas like Nigeria Air, which could possibly end up being sold off eventually. And that is all the time that we have for Business Express this morning. Thank you so much, Ademilola Aluko, for being on the show with us. And thanks, Rotus.
Bye.
You stay with us. There is a lot more to come on the Smooth Breakfast.